So in this video, we are going over group policy, and we are going to try to go over this in a nice, quick, and easy to understand method. That way, anyone watching the video that is new to group policy or has never configured anything in group policy can kind of fully understand the grand scheme of things, how it actually functions and is implemented into a company, or just at home if you wanted to play around with it. So what is group policy? The easiest way to explain it is just a way to assign a computer a specific setting, okay? And these settings can be applied to groups of computers or groups of users, and all it is changing the settings on a device. So for example, if you wanted to change every computer in a specific group, so if you wanted to have all of these computers to have performance on their battery settings instead of battery optimized, you would just go into group policy, change that setting, apply it to a group, and voila, all of those computers will now be put into a performance setting for the battery settings. And this is for pretty much all of the settings inside of Windows, is which the type of thing we're actually going over. So this can be like printers and software, different types of scripts, battery settings, kind of anything that you could possibly think of setting wise can be done in group policy. And the best part is that you can make it as granular as you want. You can assign it to specific types of operating systems, specific types of groups or users, where the user's located. It can be nearly anything as long as you have the information available to you. So let's just make this nice and easy. Let's go into my Windows server here, which has group policy. Okay, and now what we're looking at initially is all of our OUs, or organizational units. And we can see that if you open up Active Directory, we created all of these different folders, which are called OUs, organizational units. And this is how we just manage things, organize things, hence why they're just called organizational units. For example, we have Office. This is my office. And I have my computers and my users, okay? Of course, it's one computer and one user for demonstration purposes. So this is what we're going to be applying policies to. I'm only going to do one policy for you guys because there's, I don't know, probably millions. So they're all kind of applied in the same type of way. So I will show you that right now. So let's go back into our group policy management window. I have two of them open, one moment. Close this one. So we have, like you just saw, Office, Ryan's office, and my computers and my users. Here we have a printers group policy. I'm going to delete that, and let's just create another one from scratch. So the first thing that we're going to do is pick where we want this group policy created or linked, because technically all of the group policies get applied down here into this group policy objects, which is why you still see printers here. Even though I deleted it, you would actually have to delete it from here to permanently delete it. So we'll go ahead and do that. If you apply a group policy under Ryko Tech, which is my domain, it's going to apply to every single organizational unit underneath it. Okay, so it's kind of like a root domain group policy. If you want to get a little bit more granular and apply it only to specific places, you have to put it under where you want it. And it's going to apply under all of the folders. For example, if I put it under Ryan's office, my group policy is going to apply to all of the computers and all of the users and all of the things that are in Ryan's office itself. Okay, so if I put it under Office, that means it'll apply to Office, it'll apply to Ryan's office, it'll apply to computers, it'll apply to users. But what it won't apply to is my domain controller. So this is kind of the whole point of applying group policies and creating all these different organizational units, because you can organize and make it more granular when you start to apply policies. So with that being said, let's just create our first policy. We're going to go ahead and put it in my office, and we will right click and create GPO in this domain and link it here. Name it anything you want. I am going to redo the printers group policy, and it's created. Let's go ahead and edit it because it has no settings currently. So you can notice that you can apply either group policies to computers or users, and it depends on what kind of policy that you are applying, whether it's a user policy or a computer policy, because they are slightly different. Some things like computer settings that you want kind of applied to every user on that device would really go under computer configuration, something like battery settings. If you need to apply something to users specifically, of course, you want to use this user section. But let's go ahead and look for our printers. It looks scary and maybe a little bit complicated because there's just so much stuff in there, but honestly, Google is your best friend. If you want to apply to a group policy that you just don't know how to actually apply, just Google it really quick and you should be able to find where that setting actually lives. And it's going to give you a breakdown of which folder to navigate through. For example, if you were to search up how to apply a printer group policy, it's going to tell you the folder that it's located in. For us, it'll be under computer configuration, under preferences, and you will see down here printers. And all we got to do is hit new, add a printer. And it's as easy as that. Now you would of course need some of the information that it's going to ask you. For example, my printer is located at this address and I do know my printer name. It'll be this. Under DC, it's going to be HP printer. This is something that I named myself. And all I'm gonna do is, and now I'm just gonna walk you through the settings because every time you apply a group policy, it actually has this common tab up here, and I'll show you that in a second. It'll also show the action that you want to take on some group policies. It just depends what it is. For this, create means it's going to create it once every time the group policy is run. And the group policy is generally run when you either restart a computer or log into the computer. And these are kind of self-explanatory. If you replace it, it's going to delete and then add it back. If you're going to update it, it's going to do in place upgrade. It's not going to do the delete portion. And of course, if you want to ever delete a printer or anything in this specific OU, you would just select delete. And this is a setting that's very common among a lot of group policies. So make sure you understand the differences between all of these. And if we go over to the common tab, one of the most used things here is item level targeting. This is how you specify these really granular specifications of who you want to apply this to and what they need to be a part of. So as an example, maybe we want to apply this to, let's see, a specific group, okay? We're just gonna go in here. We're gonna, I don't know if I have a test group. I do. So that means this computer is a member of the security group. So even if we have a whole list of computers in this OU that the printer's policy is going to apply to, it's actually only going to apply to whatever permissions we give in here, or the targeting rather. So if you're not part of this test group, this policy is not going to run on that computer. So understand that because it is a big thing with applying policies. This is how you get the most granular when doing anything with a group policy. So I'll apply that. And that's really it. Now we have a printer policy at this address if my printer actually exists, and it's only applying to people in a specific group. And it's not much more complicated than that. We can go ahead and look at what kind of settings we can set here. So our security filtering, yet another way to get granular. As you can see in this text here, the settings in the GPO can only apply to the following groups. So this is another way where if I added my test group here, that means it's going to be able to apply to authenticated users, and authenticated users in a domain generally mean everybody, and the test group, which is already assigned to the policy. So you can set this in two different places. However, if I were to delete this, now it means that I can only apply this policy to anyone in that group. And it's pretty much what we set in the actual policy itself. So you can do either or for there. Now another really interesting part is WMI filtering. What this does is creates a specific type of syntax. You'd have to create the WMI filter yourself. But you would create something that can, for example, exclude anything in Windows 7 devices. You would create this WMI filter. You would probably have to research what the syntax is. It'll be something kind of abstract, probably what you know, a little bit of weird parentheses and colons and things like that. But once you figure out the correct WMI filter to exclude something, you can add it into here and it applies to just this policy. And one of the best use cases is usually picking what operating system this policy is allowed to apply to. So in our details tab, we have the status. If you ever wanted to disable it, you would just do it right here. You can just hit this little setting, all settings disabled, something like that. That's all you really use this little drop down for. And then our settings is the breakdown of group policy. This is really important because it lets you read through what kind of policies are being applied in each GPO, group policy object. Okay, so if we scroll down here and we start digging through, you will notice that when we went to configure the policy, we went through preferences folder, the control panel settings folder, and then we selected printers, and then we created the configuration. That is exactly what this is. So if you ever need to change any group policies or edit them, and you weren't the one that created them, or maybe you forgot, you click into it, you go to the settings, and now you're able to locate where that group policy is being applied, and you'll be able to go find it like that. So if we went to edit, you just follow this, like computer configuration. Okay, so we're here. Now we go to preferences, and then we go to control panel settings, and then printers. And you'll notice that it does the whole configuration here, laid out nicely for you, so you can edit it however you want. Now, the last thing we're going to go over is delegation. Generally, you don't want to mess with this because it makes it really hard to, I guess, organize or find. Maybe there's an issue with a group policy. It's hard to go through all of your group policies, check all the delegation tabs. So you don't typically want to mess with this. But if you ever needed to do maybe something like a test and you want to exclude a group or a user or a computer or something like that, all we have to do is remove the read permissions. Okay, so if we go into, advanced here, and we check out our permissions of our test group, notice that it has this read permission. What this means is that it's able to see the policy and apply the policy. That's the only permission you actually need. If you turn off the read permissions, that group can no longer see anything in this policy and it won't even apply to it. And that's a good way to exclude groups, but it's not the best practice to do so. I would suggest doing it within the policy so you can see it a little bit easier. And that's it. A nice quick short video of explaining how group policy works, what it is, how to actually use it, and hopefully it points everybody in the correct direction if they wanted to learn about group policy. So thanks for watching my video. I appreciate it greatly if you were to like and subscribe if it helped you at all, and I hope to see you in the next one. So again, thanks a lot.